Appreciate you guys being with me. All right. So I know I'm on here rambling and stuff all the time. I'm gonna put somebody on the spot, and you don't have to do this. Does somebody think if I put it on the screen, they could go over the prosperity process? Mark's staying at a really nice hotel. Somebody think they could do that? Not putting anybody on the spot. And the only reason I ask, I know we get on here every week and I go over this stuff over and over and over and over and over, and I know we're all doing 10 different things. But I want to make sure if we're doing this, people are actually getting something out of it and they understand exactly what we're talking about. Because Amy takes the and this is not negative at all. I don't want anybody to think, because it's not any way, shape, or form. But I'm talking to Amy throughout the day, and we're getting stuff that's coming in, not from just our team, but other teams. And I think, Amy, I'm gonna put you on the spot here for just a second. But it just seems like as much as we go through the process, there's still some spots. And Amy had no idea I was going to ask her this, because I was just thinking about this last night, putting a meeting together. What would you say is the most common 1, 2, or 3 things that, even though we go over this every week, that are still not happening? Sorry to put you on this. I apologize.
No, that's fine. Agents are still requesting the insurance pay carriers in HCMS. And those obviously have to get rejected. I know it's kind of dumb that they're there and they're not grayed out, but that's just how HCMS has it. So I think that's the number one. Number 2 is leadership just providing links to Assurance Bay and HCMS, and not the actual link that comes through HCMS, because then agents are going into HCMS first and requesting carriers before they get their Assurance Bay complete. And then corporate is getting their requests and they're having to deny them because their Assurance Bay is missing. So that, I think, is probably the second one. I don't know. I mean, those are the 2 main things. I mean, it's mainly with Assurance Bay and HCMS, and just not following those first few steps. Especially if you are a licensed agent, you should have received that document that literally walks you through it step by step.
Right. And then even when this document has been put in place, if you guys need this, Amy, just Slack me and Amy. Amy's happy to send this out to you guys. I can send it if she doesn't. But this walks people through the process. I think they say we had one, Amy, I know this week, that said, oh yeah, I read through that whole deal and then still went and did something. So I'm like, they clearly didn't read it. But this is already put in place. You absolutely can, Gregory. Go ahead.
Amy is exactly right. And this has nothing to do with you guys, because you guys didn't put the system together. It is confusing. I try to go through it with my people, my new people, and I go through it step by step and read it. It is very confusing. So I can't wait till they get this thing fixed, because even myself, when I do the onboarding form, it's on the Genesis, FFL Genesis, I didn't realize I had to go in and actually invite them as well. And Amy has told me that twice in the last week, and I didn't realize that. So it is a little confusing going by step even. So I'm not going to put too much blame on those guys, because I myself have to kind of understand this more. And so I know I'm saying it over and over. It's confusing. So
yeah, I think the process for the agent themselves, if they follow direction and listen, it's not complicated. It's that either they're not listening and following directions, or they just see something and they're like, okay, let me click on this and let me do this. Or the leadership is unsure as well. And it's fine if you're unsure of the process, because as a leader telling your agent how to do it, I can see where it would be difficult if you don't have it, that you have to send out a welcome email, you have to invite them to HCMS, but even as a leader, read over that document, because it literally walks you through it step by step. What you contract in Assurance Bay, what you contract in HCMS, that you need to get prosperity from your direct upline. It's like bam, bam, bam. So, and I'm always here. Whatever you need, I'm always here. But it's really, and I do it every day, so maybe it doesn't seem complicated to me. But I feel like it's made more complicated than it really is. But hopefully, once Assurance Bay is gone, well, I don't know if it'll ever be gone, but once all the carriers are in HCMS, hopefully that will streamline the process a little bit.
So that brings up, thank you for everybody's for contribution. Mark, you need some sun, by the way. Saw your leg. I'm like, ooh, he's as bad as Tim be like. He's over there. Tim's over there
Working
singing.
too much.
Yeah, no kidding. So which brings up my next point. Is there something about the process, our process, that either, because Amy and I really put this thing together, but is there something about our process that we can do, excluding what is absolutely mandatory with home office? Are there too many steps that we've added, Amy and I? Because the stuff with home office has to be done, right? But here's what we're seeing, guys. My personal list of recruits, I'm up to, and I just put it digital here, so I'm literally up to, hold on. I don't know if you guys can't see my screen right now, but I've got 14 recruits and 3 more interviews today. And when I look at that, I'm like, okay, what can I do to smooth out this process to get people writing sooner? All of us on here have people that are in the process that they're going through it. They start getting carriers and they're still not writing, right? So is that a recruiting process problem? Is that an explanation problem with us from leadership? Because everybody on there has at least 1 or 2 people that have gotten started that still aren't writing. Tim, you just raised your hand. Were you gonna say something?
Well, I didn't raise my hand, but I guess I'll raise my hand. There we go. You know, me personally, dealing with the folks that I've dealt with, I think I know for me, that is setting right up front. Something you and I talked about last night, setting the right expectation with them right up front, just getting down and dirty with them, you know, spending, you know, a few minutes with them and say, this is what I expect, and boom, 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 and boom, and just, you know, not leave anything to chance, you know, like, hey, maybe they'll get it, maybe they won't. I don't know. I'm just going to change something that I'm doing up personally. I think the process is fine. I just think for me, it's me setting the right expectation with them and hammering it in, saying, hey, if you can't do this, then this probably isn't a fit for you.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm not going to be wasting time with tire kickers.
Well, and the reason I say that is, yeah, Amy, I was just going to go.
Well, yeah, 2 things. What I'll say. First thing is, eventually I'm going to be doing all the onboarding for you guys, so nobody's going to have to worry about that because I'm going to take it over. Hopefully sooner rather than later. Then I'll just handle it all. So, I mean, that's coming. Second, we had a meeting yesterday and we were talking about the same thing. Like, how many people are we bringing on versus how many people are actually
writing,
you know, getting through the process and writing. And there's obviously it's almost like 50%, which is, you know, kind of unacceptable. And so we were talking in our meeting, like, you know, what needs to happen as admins or contractors or even, you know, leadership. And the main piece of the puzzle that I heard from the group is that the follow-up is not there. And I think, you know, maybe more follow-up with the agent, more what can I do to help you through this process daily. And if it's getting to a point where you're not getting feedback and you see that they're not interested, cut them off right then and there. You're done. We gave you X amount of time. You didn't fulfill what you needed to do. We're going to part ways. We have so many stragglers that it's like, it's clouding everything else up. And then they'll come back 3 months later and be like, oh, hey, I'm ready to do this. No, you had your chance, you know, maybe give them another chance. I don't know. That's up to you, but follow up with them daily. If you show they're not interested, just cut them loose. It's not for them, and that's fine.
Because you're just and the big part about this, thank you, Amy, because I was just getting ready to spend you for that. Part of it is again, Tim, it's expectations, it's clear understanding of the process, which Gregory just eloquently brought up, and he's absolutely correct. But I think part of it is, you know, having that conversation with people and letting them know. I've showed you guys, I'm not just talking the talk. If I give them 2 weeks, sometimes it floats over, things happen, COVID happens, flat tires, school, all that stuff, right? Those things happen. But if they come back after that point, after we maybe moved it a couple more weeks because stuff has happened, I'm done, because they're showing you what they're going to do. And this sounds stupid, and we say this all the time. I know I sound like a broken record. If somebody was paying them $15 an hour and they said, be at this meeting at 8 o'clock, they'd be there and not think anything about it. just because we're programmed and that's what we've been told to do since we're in elementary school. Go to school, get a degree, go get a job, punch a clock, right? Nothing wrong with it. But if that's what they're going to do, they're showing and they're displaying that they can't self-manage themselves. Because nobody's going to say be on the meeting at 8 o'clock every Wednesday, every Friday, etc. Right? It's not going to happen. So you
And
guys,
sometimes less is more. Just because you have a large team doesn't mean that team is
Yeah.
successful. It's just more people that you as a leader have to work with and deal with, and it takes your time away from the people you should be focusing on. So, I mean, you could have 3 or 4 strong writers as opposed to 10 people on your team that are taking up so much of your time, and they're not doing anything.
right? Go
Cut
ahead,
them
Tim.
loose. That's
Yeah. One of the things too, and I think this is where setting the proper expectation with them from the get-go. And like I said, Corey and I talked about this last night. Guys, truly what we're looking for is 10%. Okay. We're not, there's 90% of the people are going to be followers and job seekers. That's okay. But there's about 20% in that 90% that are looking for something. And again, I think if you can get the process down, at least I'm going to talk for me, because everything else is fine, in my opinion. I just got to get better at implementing, okay, hey, we're talking on this day. I'm going to have a sheet that I'm going to detail out. We're going to talk every other day. I'm going to lay the 2 weeks out for them. And I'm going to let the system kick them out. Not me. I'm like, if you can't do this, then this probably isn't for you. This is what has to happen. So again, but it's at 20% of the 90 that we're trying to help along. And again, but Corey, I go back to, dude, there was nothing like this when we came here. I mean, there was nothing, so, and even probably so for Mark, it had gotten a little bit better and you had put some things in place, but again, I just for time's sake, just cut through the BS and don't think that, oh my gosh, I'm losing somebody. They were going to lose themselves anyway.
Yeah. Have the conversations, guys. Let them
Yep.
go. Have that upfront contract with them. And it turns into something where this isn't for them anymore. Have the contract with them. Hey,
Yep.
I'm gonna be moving people here or there. If you want to stay and work part-time, that's fine. But you got to understand, you're going to have to figure that part out on your own. I'm not going to be taking your calls. I'm working with the people that are helping us build our business, period.
Right.
Okay. So I kind of wrote down a 1 through 5 from what we were just talking about. And Amy knows this because most of this stuff she's included in just in case I'm locked up someplace and my people have questions, etc. My people that I'm working with, they're instructed, if I haven't heard from you every 48 to 72 hours, please reach out to me. And you guys would be shocked at the number of people, because I say that, you would be surprised at how many people actually do that. They're consistently reaching out to me. Amy, there's probably 3 or 4 that you see on a consistent, they're constantly, because I'll tell them, if not, I'm going to move on. So the ones that really want it are doing those things. They're still a pain in the butt, but they're doing those things. So I want to pause for 2 seconds because one of our newest members, Ramon, that has actually recruited somebody, has actually gotten his recruit through the process with almost little to no help from me other than maybe 1 or 2 meetings. So Ramon, if you can, hopefully I'm not catching you off guard. What did you do with Alex that allowed you to continue to get him through the process pretty quickly? Because he's got to be ready to run here very soon.
I guess just following up with him. Thing with Alex is he calls me about every hour. Whenever he has a question, which is fine because I want him to be as much as part of the process as he can be. And it's all new. I know the feeling of the whole system being new. And that's why he has so many questions. But whenever he calls me, I'm there.
Yeah, and this guy's
Hungry.
You don't even hardly call me at all, and I don't want to get in anybody's way, but I tell people, if you need me and it's Sunday at midnight, call me. Like, you guys know that. If you don't,
I think that's huge, is just being available to your team.
That's it.
And answering the questions for them and not passing them on to somebody else or ignoring their call or being like, I'm annoyed with them, I don't want to take it or whatever. Like, if they're hungry and they're reaching out to you, it's 1 of 2 things. 1, they are just a bugaboo that's going to produce nothing. And you'll soon learn that, obviously, and you'll know what to do with your time with them. Or two, they're going to write and be successful. But if you're continuously not available for them, they're going to feel like they're alone. So I see both often. I see agents say that their leaders are not available. They don't know what to do. They feel alone. And then I see agents who bug me nonstop and do nothing. So, and they do have their leadership helping them, but they just are that kind of person that thinks that, you know, doing busy work with contracting and admin stuff is working, but actual selling is not part of the process for whatever reason. So,
yeah. And thank you, Ramon. Thank you for that, because literally, you've gotten Alex through this process with little to no help from me at all. And I think that's just a testament of you actually digging into the system, working through stuff and trying to figure things out without always saying, hey, Corey, help me, help me, help me. But again, I'm here as a resource. I wanted you to know that, but I just wanted to tip my hat to you for that, because most people just won't do that. They don't try to get through the process, just ask a bunch of questions as opposed to trying, if you will. So the 5 things that I wrote down, not that this needs to be, another list, because Lord knows we got tons of those, was number 5 is follow up, making sure that you have that upfront contract or expectation with your agent and setting that right from the beginning. If you need me, I'm here. If you got to call me every day, call me. That's why I'm here. If you need to call me every hour on the hour to get this thing figured out, that's okay. Number 4 was expectation, setting again that expectation up front of what this is. Yes, you're going to be required to buy leads up front. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that in meetings that agents didn't know that they had to buy lead, which is insane, but they got to buy leads to get started. Just those upfront conversations. So you're trying to make sure you've been here, eliminate some of those, diffuse some of those bombs before they go off. Staying in constant contact with your people, as Amy just mentioned, even once they're on board, if they need it. And when I say staying in constant contact with them, that's helping the ones that want the help. If they're going to disappear on you, let them go. Okay, there's no reason to chase adults to go to work. HCM, Mark brought up and Gregory brought up the HCMS. That's happening so often that I think we think we're having the conversation. I think we're glancing at it as opposed to slowing things down and going through it. Another thing that I would say, I guess would be 2.2a, is Slack, making sure that people are with their guys. I get text messages all day long. When is this? And I'm talking about on all of your teams. When is this? I'm like, I'll tell them, and then I'm like, hey, make sure you check Slack because it's on there. I've had people ask me when meetings are, what time meeting starts, and it's the last thing that I posted on Slack. The reason we don't send email out, the reason we don't send, because we had a text thread thing and all that. Amy, I'll get to you in 2 seconds. We had a text thing that was going out that had all the meetings, and we would still get it. So it's like, why pay for that service if nobody's doing it? You have to educate your people to make sure that they're using the resources they have, because it's just impossible for us to answer 9 text when we're on a meeting saying, check Slack. Amy, go ahead.
I was just going to mention, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but in the Genesis thread, there is a pinned post, which means it never goes away. If you go up to the top of the screen, you can click on pinned post, and that has all of the meeting times like in one post. So it's like everything is like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Thanks, Amy. I appreciate it. Anything else anybody else has to add or questions or whatever? I'm glad this stuff came up. We'll rip through the bigger part of this as well. And the good part about this, you guys, I think, is iron sharpens iron. These things are coming out, so it helps us be more proficient every single week, because we'll get to the point where, even if everything happens and SureBay goes away and we just have HCMS, there's still going to be some other issue, right? There's still going to be something else that comes up. So, and we'll deal with that when it happens. But the better off we are with the process, I think where we're lacking right now is getting people through that are actually getting through the process and start to get them licensed. I think that would be our biggest issue now. And the meeting that Amy was on just yesterday, they mentioned that it's about 50% of the people that are coming through actually end up writing. I think part of that's process. Part of that is people just start to figure out what it is. Because I can tell you, being for companies that are captive, I've represented FHL, I've represented combined insurance. And in all fairness, all they had was the one product, but you still had probably 25, 30% of those people that didn't come out either. So it's not just that we have multiple carriers. It's that I think people don't truly understand what this is until they get here. and they start going through the process, and then they get scared or decide they don't want to do it. And that's when that upfront contract conversation has to be had to, as Tim says, push them up or push them out. Hopefully that's clear for everybody, because I will cut people off, period. Nothing negative, because it's not personal. All right. So let's go ahead and go through the rote process here. Make sure if you guys need this, make sure you just send a Slack to Amy and I. We can get this emailed out to you. It is the process is laid out very well in there. If you haven't taken the time to run through that yet, I think all of you guys have been on here. So a lot of this stuff, I'm not going to go in major detail. I'm going to share my screen really quick. All right. The recruiting process, guys, or our website, I'm only going to cover the last two things on here. You guys know where this is. You guys have any questions, let me know. Very simple, join FFLgenesis.com. We've now added the virtual process on here, which you guys have obviously seen. Hopefully they didn't update the link. There it is. The virtual process, they click on the blue button, it will actually take them to the FFL virtual site so they can go through that information. Just wanted to make sure that that was out there for everybody. And then the last thing is join. If somebody comes on here, if you direct them here and they come on here, put your name inside the message box, I'll make sure that you get that sheet showing that they filled it out, and I'll help you do the interviews, recruit them, all that other stuff. Before we go too much further, and I almost forgot this, I'm glad that just popped in my head. So there was a process called Go High Level that they had partnered with FFL. We did it for a month. You had to be committed for 6 months. We did it for a month. We literally got no one. So I didn't even ask the guys that were a part of the process to pony up the next month. I went back to home office and said, we're not going to continue this, even though it's supposed to be 6 months, because we literally didn't get one. So here's what happened. Here's what happened with that process that I think slowed it down or messed it up, in my opinion, especially after I know the system that they were using and how they were doing it. It was a round robin, which is just fine. But when you got a round robin and you've got 30, 40, 50 agents that are, or agencies that are in this deal, and all of them have 3, 4, 5, 6 people in them, or 3, 4, 5, 6 people in them, and they're all, waiting for their piece of the pie to come out, it gets to be too much. And I think there was recruits that came through. I just think they were going to other people. Well, we now have an opportunity to work directly through Eric's system, who is basically using Go High Level's system. He's using their software and everything. It's the exact same stuff. So we have the exact same opportunity to do that. Now, I've talked to Tim. Mark, I was going to call you the other day, but I talked to Tim about this. If anybody wants into that, it's $1,000, but it will be divided up over the number of people that are actually wanting into the program. We can start it at any time. It should warrant about 60 to 65 or more recruits that will come through there in a month. So if there's 5 people, you're going to get 2 or 3 recruits per month that will come from that system. The cool part about it is there's no additional deposit. There's none of that stuff that goes with it, and we can go month to month. So if we decide we're out, we're out. Now, all I will do, I will not take one recruit. I will do every interview so that you guys can keep doing what you're doing. I will do all of the interviews. I'll set up a Calendly, so I'll handle all of that stuff. And then whoever decides to join, basically, we'll do a random draw, which we'll set up a separate Slack line for. So everything's kept transparent. If you guys decide you want to do it, let me know. If you guys can let me know by next week, that's great. And I can call Eric. I'll make the deposit, collect it from you guys. We do everything via PayPal, so it's all kept secure. And whoever wants in can be in. So I think it's a pretty slick system. It works well when I think there's too many people in it, but Eric knows what he's doing in that system. He's been trained well by the people at Go High Level. So I'm looking at the exact same software, and it's very, very expensive. Very expensive. So any questions about that?
You said it's a one-time $1,000 deposit?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I apologize, Ramon. I said that very weirdly. It's $1,000 a month. There is no deposit. It's $1,000 a month. But here's how it works. It's divided up over the number of people that say they want to be in the program. So if it was 4 of you guys, it'd be $250 a month. And then the amount of recruits. So if there's 65, 70 recruits, you're going to get about 4 or 5 recruits or more per month that are coming.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So if you guys, I'm not putting any pressure on anybody. If you guys can let me know by next Friday who's in or who's not or whatever, just send me a Slack. Say I'd like to be a part of that. we'll set up a separate Slack line so where there's not a bunch of email and stuff like that flying around, and then talk about that. But again, I won't take one recruit, not one, and I'll do all the interviews. I'll do everything so you guys can keep doing what you're doing. And the process is pretty simple with that stuff. They come through, I'll let you know you got to recruit. All communication will be kept probably via text to get started with that person. I'll let you know when the interview's there going to happen. If you want to be on, you can. I'll go through the interview process like I did with most of you guys that are on here. We'll go through that process. If they decide, yes, I want to move forward, you'll then be passed to you for that person to complete the onboarding form and start the process from there. It'd be no different. It's just I'm doing the interview process for you to get that person excited and then hand them off to you as their leadership person. And they'll be told that from the beginning. So if you're in, let me know by next Friday, please, and then we'll move forward from there. Let's see. Write that down. Next Friday. And I'll bring it up again for those of you guys that'll be at the training. I'll mention that again during the recruiting process portion of the training. All right. Any other questions? I almost called on you, Amy, but I don't know. I know you don't have anything to add to that. So, okay. So very quickly, already covered. Make sure my screen is sharing here. Already covered the Genesis website, so you guys know that. Just as a quick reminder here, the onboarding form, you guys have the opportunity to create your own link on the left-hand side, best business ever. Then in the middle, once you bring somebody on their onboarding form, if you can, and I know, Amy, I've been driving you nuts with this the last couple of days, but the people that I just hired that are licensed didn't know where their NPN is. You can get their NPN number included on the form because it will be needed for HCMS. And another thing that I've been seeing as well, once they get they start processing their license and they do all that, I would get them started on the boot camp and get them into our meeting schedule as soon as you possibly can. Because there's a couple of people, at least that I've run into, my people, I've reached out to them and I'm like, so what do you got going on right now? And they're like, well, I'm just waiting for my license. I'm like, I sent you the stuff for the boot camp. Oh yeah. I got 2 of them yesterday that I had that conversation that will be starting the quote unquote, starting the boot camp today. So just as a quick reminder there. HCMS training, you guys know this stuff is on here. Just as a quick reminder for your new people, product guides, that kind of stuff. All right, so we got that. In reference to commission, if you want to stay around that 10-15% mark, just so we're all on the same page. If you got somebody that's brand new and this person's going to need a whole lot of time, guys, I would tell you, you may even stretch to 20, but if you do 15 or 20%, you should very, very seriously consider putting something in place where after their first 10 families that they protected, after their first 10K issue pay, you bump them up 5%. I know Amy's cringing right now, but you bump them up 5%. Okay. And then after they do, their first 25K issue pay, you bump them up another 5, because you shouldn't, and this is just my opinion, 10 or 15% I think is fair. I really do. If you're providing value, if you get somebody that comes here and they don't need your help, 10% should be plenty, but there needs to be a level of a split where it makes sense for you so that you are making some type of profit. But this is a profit business and you're working your butt off and you're giving your time and your expertise and everything else, and you should be paid for that. So just wanted to put that out there so there are no secrets and all that kind of stuff. 10,000, bump them up 5. Another, when they hit that 25, bump them up again and get them where they need to be. HCMS, we've talked about that. I'm not going to go through the normal rhythm that we normally do. Once they get started, if they're not licensed, you guys understand, you fill out the onboarding form. Onboarding form comes in. They get the email, the welcome email. Some of you guys are sending out your own, which is fine. Please send out the one that we have, though. So, it's wrote across the board. They get the welcome email. It's got all the stuff, the discount code. A lot of what we see is make sure to tell people to take the code off of the front, the space off the front and the back of the code, so it works properly, and then give them 2 weeks to complete that information. If they don't get it completed within that period of time, guys, move on, because they're not.
Hey, Corey.
Most of them don't show. Yes, sir.
On the Excel pre-licensing deal, Illinois does not show up on there's no option for Illinois. So just
Well, great
keep that in
question,
mind.
Tim. We have a Amy, do you remember what the one is for Illinois?
No, one sec.
It's oh gosh. Yeah. And they get in Illinois, you guys, I just hired 2 people in Illinois over the weekend. There's I can't remember the name of the place right now that we use, which is ridiculous, but they don't, Illinois, if you hire anybody in Illinois, it's going to cost them $99. They still get the discount, but they have to pay
ExamFX.
ExamFS, that's right. So thank you, Amy. Great point, Tim.
Hey, Amy, examfx.com.
They still get the discount code. I think we still have a discount code for it, but it just costs them $99.
Yeah.
This is it, Tim. Can you see my screen?
Yep. Gotcha.
I lost you for a second. I don't know if you heard me, but it's in the email, the non-licensed email. It has a little sentence in there about Illinois.
Okay.
Look
Is the
at you,
code, is the
Amy.
discount code in there though?
No, it just says if you're registering for Illinois pre-license, go to examfx.com/FFL and click register. Please use Illinois@familyfirstlife.com as the email when prompted to access the discount code.
Okay. So it sounds like when they go
But that's
and
in the non-licensed welcome email.
makes
Look
sense.
at you, Amy.
Told you, brother. She's the glue that holds this crap together.
Well, I
so.
mean, in all fairness, Tim, I send your welcome email, so you wouldn't know that, so.
All right. So ExamFX, it's FX, ExamFX. So they actually changed their website up. Looks a lot better than it used to. A lot better. But anyway, that's a whole nother deal. For those of you guys that maybe went through Excel, I always walk the people through that process. So when they say, yeah, I literally walk them through this. Hey, this is what it's going to look like. Enroll now. You're going to click English pre-licensing. If it's Alabama, you're going to click your state. And then you're simply going to click on where it says Alabama Life pre-licensing. If that's all they're going to do is the life portion, they're going to hit the dollar amount. They're going to hit go to cart. They're going to put the code in. Make sure there's no spaces. Copy the code. Don't try to type it in. Copy the code. Make sure there's no space in the front or the back. Hit apply. It's going to make it 0. And then you're going to go in, put your first name, last name, email address, username, password, and get started. Remember, you have 2 weeks to get this knocked out. You and I will be in contact every 24 to 48 hours as you're going through this part of the process to get you going. But you got to have this done, set up, and your exam passed in the next 2 weeks. Does that make sense? And they'll go, absolutely. Okay, perfect. Keep in mind, this is where people get stumbled. This is where they get caught up. And they say they understand that process, and then life happens. Understand, if you don't have this done in 2 weeks, we're going to have the exact same conversation we're having now. It's business, and we're going to, rescind your offer. Not that we want to do that, but we have a lot of people that are coming through, and it's a lot to manage. Does that make sense? And they say yes. That way, if you have to have that conversation, which you're going to have to a lot, trust me, they can't say they didn't know or they didn't understand or whatever the case is, and you can move on. I've even had some guys that they've come back and said, hey, I'm ready to get started again. And maybe that's me being a jerk. I don't know. But if you didn't get it done the first time, what are the chances you're going to get it done the second time? And the statistics and numbers don't lie. They just don't get through it for whatever reason. So any more questions there? Thanks for bringing up Illinois, Tim. And thanks for being on that, Amy. Much appreciated. All right. So let's go over, I had this all keyed up too. Prosperity. This is giving some people some little bit of issues as well. I made a video for prosperity last night for the YouTube page. I have not, I did not proof it yet. So it should be out there either today or tomorrow. I'll have that out there. So if you guys need, a little bit more tutelage or maybe just need to slow it down a little bit, feel free to do that. Steps, again, insuranceadmin.com, which I'll go through here in just a second. Click on contracting. Click on invitation code. This is in the main site, just like you would go in to get your quotes and do an application, etc. Click on product. Again, New Vista is the primary product that we use. Once that comes up, obviously you're going to do the comp thing, which we'll go over here in a second. The other product, the prime term, is not a product that we offer. So just select 90% and move forward. I get a lot of questions about that. Advanced limits, it's still 9 months at settle. When you're going on there, some states will show different. Some will show 3,000, some will show 3, some will show 2,500. The max that we get is 3,000, regardless of what it says in your system. So Atlanta might be different than Texas. Texas may be different than Illinois. Just keep in mind, it is 3,000. That's what we have set up with FFL through Prosperity. And then labeling, that's probably the biggest thing where people get confused. So I'm just going to start at the top. 140, our 140 is equal to Prosperity's 125. So if you're at 140, Tim Bealo's at 140, and he brings somebody in at 135, they're an experienced person, and they're bringing 5-6 people with them, and they need the comp level. That person's compensation will be 120 with Prosperity, even though they're at 135 with FFL. So 120, year 2 through 5 will be 6.75% on renewal. Year 6 through 10 will be 3.75. Just in case you forgot or didn't remember our residual tie is only for whole life. No company pay a trail on term. They just don't. 9-month advance, that's what you're used to already now, 75% of the year, 0.75. And we already talked about the advance being 3,000. So I'm going to go ahead and click on insurance admin. I'm going to click on sign in. You guys should all be familiar with this. Everybody on here has Prosperity. You're going to see everything come up on the screen, top left-hand corner. I believe if you click the button in the center of the page, it'll do the exact same thing, just in case you have that question. If I'm going too fast, let me know. I'm going to click on invitation codes. And then what's going to come up on the screen, you guys can see I have codes that are already set up. And here it is. Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So with the labeling part of it, so you're actually going through and you're setting up the percentage that they're at, but then you're also taking, and it has a label next to it. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yep. And that's what happens.
Okay.
So what'll happen is,
All right.
Roger, question.
Yeah.
So here on the screen, I know you're at a little bit of a disadvantage here. So let me know if I need to slow down. What you're going to do is create a code based on the percentage that they will be paid from Prosperity. So let me give you an example. At the top of the screen here, that box says FFL 100. I typed that in because FFL's 100 comp equals 85 for New Vista. Okay. That should be, at this point, should be square with everybody that's on here, because everybody's been on here. Any questions about that before I move forward? So I've created a code, which is 100%. So if I'm at 100% comp with FFL, that's equivalent to 85% with New Vista. 5-year, year 2 through 5. So your renewal starts in the 13th month. So in the 13th month, you're going to get a portion of that remainder, or again, your renewal. And then year 6 through 10, you're going to get 2%. If you go under notes, it says advanced 9 months at 3,000 at settle. At settle means when you get paid. And then you're vested from day one, as opposed to having to wait 2, 3, 5, even 10 years with some of our competitors. When you hire someone on and you're bringing them on, and that person, you're bringing them on at 100%, all you have to do is come out here and click email, or click that little green guy over there in the top right-hand corner. Click that. It's going to copy the link, and then you can just send them an email. Very simple. And I already have an email set up. All I do is copy the link, change the link in there, and change the person's first name, type Prosperity link, Prosperity contracting link, and I type their name on the line. That way, if they tell me they didn't get it, I can go back to my email on the fly, type it in my phone, and resend it to them. I do that more for myself than I do for them. That way, if I'm out running around, I can take care of it. Okay, so let's go through a quick example. So I'll scroll down the bottom of the screen. It says generate code. I'm going to click on that. We just said 85. So I'm going to find the 85%. You can see 85% on the right-hand side. Year 2 through 5 is 5% renewal. Year 6 through 10 is 2%. Prime term, not a product we have. So just click the 90% and keep moving. Advance, you can see you're going to have some different options. Do not advance 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. 9 months is a standard, 75% of the year. And again, when you click the maximum advance limit, some states are going to max at 25. Some are going to say 3,500. If those are whatever the highest one is there, click it. it's going to stay 3,000 because that's the agreement that FFL has with Prosperity. So don't overthink it. Vested option, when you click on that, it's going to give you 4 or 5 options there. The one that we are is sub agent is always fully vested. So we have the best contract that you can get. Click on that. And then right here, remember 85% is equal to FFL's 100%. So I'm going to type in FFL 100%. And I'm going to click generate code. If I were to click generate code, which I'm not because I already have this created, it's going to go right up here to the one I have at the top. It's going to drop that in there. So once you create these, so if you're at 110, you're going to need a 105, a 100, 95, and a 90, because 90 is where our comp starts. And you can bring your people in wherever you'd like, as we discussed earlier. Are there any questions about Prosperity or how to set these links up? Okay, I know we'll continue to go over this every week, and the more we go over it, seems like we're getting less and less questions about it. Now, keep in mind, you have to generate these codes and you have to send this out to your agents every time you hire one. Keep in mind also, if you need to get them, which you should, have an urgency to get them started ASAP, all you have to do is get them set up. They'll have Prosperity within 24, 48 hours. And guys, they can start writing. Everybody thinks they need to have all 15, 20, 35, 40, 50 carriers before they can get started. That's not the case. We hear that every single week. Anybody have any questions or have anything to add to Prosperity before we move forward? All right, I digress. I'm going to keep moving here. So very quickly here, we've talked about Slack, just getting your people on Slack. E&O, I think that's one thing that's missed, starting to get missed as well. Make sure you let your guys know that there's a tab for E&O on the website, on the Genesis website. We talked about making sure your guys, while they're waiting to get their license back, keeping them involved, make sure they understand the meeting schedule and letting them know that that's on Slack, because we're not going to send any email, any reminders. Everything will be on Slack. So we don't have 4 or 5 different lines of communication going. I know that can be crazy as well. Tim just brought up a great point. If you're hiring anybody, and the majority of us on here are in or around Illinois, Gregory, I know you know people in Illinois as well. Exam FX, they still have to pay the $99. If you want to reimburse them for that, that's completely on you, but we'll cover the rest of that. And then work spots, make sure your guys understand work spots, whether they decide to do it or not. I think it's a good idea for what they're going to save, especially when they're getting started. And all of us are working on some different lead vendors and stuff like that, which I'm looking forward to going over at our training coming up here in a few days. So the last thing I'll cover, because I know we're just talking about this being somewhat of a confusing process. Person gets started, you have the interview with them, you guys shake hands, they say thumbs up, they're ready to rock and roll. They've watched the video, you've gone through all that stuff. You're going to go to the onboarding link. Let's say this person is now licensed. You're going to go through, you're going to put everything in there. You're going to put their NPN number because Amy needs that. We need it for HCMS. We're going to go from there. They're going to send all that stuff in. What they're going to get is a welcome email. Either it's coming from Amy or coming from you. If you're not paying Amy, you should be sending out your own, which is a very nominal fee, by the way. So Amy sends the email out to them. They get the email, the welcome email. It's going to take them through to HCMS. They're going to complete HCMS. Then they're going to get a second email from HCMS telling them, congratulations, they've done it. And inside of there is going to be a link from Surance Bay, for Surance Bay, I should say. When they do that, they click that, it's going to take them into Surance Bay. That's where they start to apply for carriers. They're going to get the big 4. You guys should know this in your sleep by now. Miraco, AIG, John Hancock Move. Those are the big 4 that they're going to get. Okay. Keep in mind, you've already sent them Prosperity because they're licensed. Okay. Now, if somebody, let me pause for just a second. If someone is not licensed and they pass the exam, you need to let Amy know ASAP so that she can start the process, and you need to get their NPN number once they get their license. Okay, so throw that in there. And then the last part of that is,
okay, so that's so they're not necessarily getting the welcome email once, of course they've already gotten it when they're not licensed, so they're not going to get that now. But so we just let Amy know what the NPN is after they pass the exam, and then what from there. I'm just trying to make sure, because
no worries.
the fella that I've been holding off on because of the accessibility is supposed to test next week. So,
well, that's awesome, Roger. I know you and I have been talking about him for a while. So 2 things. If you haven't sent any of the information in, for him being non-licensed, don't worry about it. Because if he's already testing and doing all that other stuff, then that non-licensed thing is gone. Once he passed the exam, everything that we just started talking about, that's what we'll have to do. Does that make sense? Everything that we just talked about.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, because he will then be licensed after he passes his exam. Now, keep in mind this as well, because I've had this happen. They can, if they're waiting, once they've applied. So let me take a step back because I just had this happen. Once they pass their exam, okay, some states work a little bit different. Once they pass their exam, they then go on NIPR, regardless of what state they're at in the US. They go to NIPR. It's very simple. And a matter of fact, I just put a video, I think 2 weeks ago, on our Genesis page, our Genesis YouTube page, that walks through how to do a new license and how to do a renewal as well, and how to do a non-residence license. Okay, they go to NPR and they fill out all the information. Now they have to get, most states ask for 48 to 72 hours because the testing center has to send the stuff from the testing center to their state, right? Once they get that, then that person will get an email typically from the state and NIPR, okay? Make sure you tell them to check their spam. Once they get that, then they have to actually wait for their stuff to get done. They can check with their Department of Insurance. They can go back to NIPR, but that's not really going to give them any help. They might be able to ask questions, etc. Once they get their license, they want to print that license off or save it someplace, but we need the national producer number off of that because we have to have that for HCMS. Hopefully I didn't confuse anyone, but everyone has to go through every single one of us, including Amy, because she's licensed, have gone through that process. And it works the same everywhere, minus somebody having to have fingerprints in some states, Texas, New York, etc., Florida, whatever. Does that help, Mr. Chrome? I think I put him to sleep.
It does. Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. So one email from HCMS, the second email, third one, Insurance Bay, from Insurance Bay, the big four, Americo, AIG, John Hancock, Moo. From there, make sure they're only filling out those four. That's what we were just talking about 20 minutes ago. Then, and only then they go back to HCMS, and then you have all the other carriers, whichever ones you want them to have. And then after they start getting skilled, like Ramon's already asked for a couple more carriers, which is perfectly fine. But make sure you're not being, carrier happy, because then your agents will do the same thing if not properly instructed. AMAM, Foresters, Aetna, Great Western, Trans, I think is pretty much all you need. I see a lot of people selling some obscure carriers for whatever reason, but hey, it's your business, do what you like. AMAM, Foresters, Aetna, Great Western, Trans, CFG, Royal Neighbors, Occidental, United Home Life, Gerber, NLG, F&G, and then the fun one is Occidental Life. Occidental Life and AMAM is one and the same. If you have agents in one of these 6 states, Iowa, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, Rhode Island, or Vermont, and you have an agent there, you also need a non-resident license. The last thing I'll say before I open this back up to questions and let you gentlemen go about your day other than the AML is, if you have an agent in a state, so you're in Missouri and you have an agent in Texas, I highly recommend you getting a license in Texas. There is a form that floats around out there. I know you guys talk to other people with FFL or even other carriers or companies or whatever the case is. Don't trust that sheet, because once they pay them, if you're not licensed in that state, good luck getting paid. Good luck with going backwards and them paying you retro. Good luck with that. So once they get going, I recommend waiting until they actually pass their exam. Most of the time, it doesn't take but probably about a week to get your stuff done, to get your non-residence license. And once you do that, once you get your license and stuff like that, you have to upload it into Insurance Bay, and we'll go from there. AML, I want to make sure we haven't had much issue with this. Make sure your guys understand they have to complete anti-money laundering, also known as AML, with Mutual of Omaha. They have their own. Americo has theirs, and then Prosperity has theirs. Very simple. Prosperity, all of us have gone through this. They're just going to watch the videos. There's no test or anything. Once they watch the videos, their AML's good with Prosperity. Mutual of Omaha and Americo, since they're 2 of the bigger carriers, whoever they use, it's recognized with everyone else. But just make sure your guys understand that. For those of you guys,
I've been getting several questions lately about AML. just random questions. I mean, from new agents, and I don't know if they're confused because they think, you know, the one Insurance Bay just covers it all, which in all reality, that would be great, but it doesn't. So I think having that conversation with them. If you know the process of AML as a leader and having people underneath you, just explaining to them where they need to go for that. If not, you can send them my way, that's fine. But I get a lot of questions about AML. I mean, daily I get questions about AML. People are lost, they don't know where to go. I'll end up sending them to LIMRA because it covers the bases, but it's not, you know, it's not ideal, but unfortunately, I can't do anything with their AML. Like, I mean, all I can do is tell them take the one Insurance Bay. You can Americo, you know, move whatever, do LIMRA, but
doesn't Insurance Bay prompts them to do it right there with those
there's
areas.
Several options, I believe, Insurance Bay for AML.
Good luck, Gregory.
But I think everybody just takes that free Insurance Bay one because it's free, and they think, hey, it's free. I'm gonna, you know. It's free, so I'm gonna take it. But
my thing with that is let you guys know that I think that's one of those little teeny tiny little steps, because it's not a huge deal. It doesn't get brought up. And then as they're going through the sit, they're like, what's AML? Because I've forgotten to mention it to people too. And they go, what's that? You know what I'm saying? As opposed to like, hey, you're going to have to take these AMLs, just anti-money laundering. It's not a big deal. Just so they know that you've been trained to not steal people's money, right? But you're not going to do that anyway. That's all it is. I take one with Americo and one with Prosperity. I explain that Prosperity is the videos. And I know Mark likes, what's it called? LIMRA. Yeah, but understand, guys, with LIMRA, you only have to do it once, but we have no connection to LIMRA at all. None. So we can't help you. Amy can't help you. No one at home office can help you either. Mark, you're going to say something?
I was just telling you it was called LIMRA. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
It can be a pain, but if they get through, it's easy.
Yeah.
I think Roger had something to say.
Yeah, I was going to say that when you're going through and doing that initial setup, at least when I did, it was like directing for LIMRA, because I don't know if you remember, Corey, but we had that kind of round robin conversation going in circles, because it was telling me that I needed to do that, or I understood it to say that I needed to do LIMRA, and you were saying no, just do the one that is Insurance Bay, and the deal is that with LIMRA, you don't do that until you actually write with one of the carriers, and once you actually write with one of the carriers, then they will send, like especially like Americo, you have to actually do the training, do the AML through, I believe it is through LIMRA, before they will actually pay you the first time.
The weird part about that is you have to have that completed before they'll actually complete your license stuff. So as we can see,
it is weird.
Simply right? So LIMRA's great if you can work through it, work through all the stuff. Obviously, it's been a while since I've done the licensing stuff, but I just don't remember it being that complicated, but maybe it is. Anything else? Awesome. Well, appreciate you guys' time this morning. Guys, let me know by next Friday. I'll put a couple reminders out there. Let me know by next Friday if you guys want to be a part of the recruiting stuff. We get 4 or 5 people in. I think it's a great idea. Again, I'll do all of the interviews and then pass them off to you and help you build your team. But I do think it's a really good idea to be a part of that. So appreciate you guys. If you need anything, let me know. Have a great day, and bye for now.
Thanks, Corey.
You're welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Anytime.